Hello, hello, and welcome to the User Research Strategist podcast. I am your host, Nikki, and I am joined today by Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
I am good. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today. And we're going to be talking about, sounds a bit vague, but we will get into the details and into the weeds, broadening and socializing our research efforts. So before we dive in, Matt, do you just mind introducing yourself to the audience, please?
Absolutely. So my name is Matt Thomas. I'm a design, research and product leader at a company called Motability Operations. We're a commercial organization which delivers something called the Motability Scheme, and we support over 800,000 disabled customers across the UK with independent mobility through leased vehicles. And then where I come in and my team comes in is that those leased vehicles, 250,000 and more, are returned at the end of those lease and they get sold back into the trade. And that's where me and my teams come in to support that. So I lead the design and research efforts for a range of products, from a main commerce platform which sells those used cars, right through to colleague-facing tools that support the running of that website operation. And we do a vast range of products within that space as well. We work closely with product and tech teams to bring those products to life, always focusing and learning on the people who actually use them. And like you said, the topic of this, I'm really passionate with broadening where we get those insights from and making research more accessible in order to make better product decisions ultimately.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. And I think a lot of people are really interested in that, like understanding of, how to get research from other places and how to bring it together in an accessible way, since we talk repositories, we talk libraries, we talk all of these things and trying to like make our research come to life. And it can be quite challenging. But if we could just start with like, what do you mean when you say like broadening where you get research from, where you get that feedback from? Let's just start there.
I think ultimately it's not just focusing on formal research studies and being UX researchers or within that research space, thinking that everything needs to be a formal research piece, and just tapping into all the possible touch points where that flow of customer feedback is coming in, where those small pockets of ongoing signals that we're getting help us build that overall, building a richer understanding of who our customers are, what their problems are over time, and looking for those little spaces and being able to capture those.
Yeah. I love that. And can you talk through some examples of what those spaces might look like? Because I know a lot of people probably might just be focusing on like, okay, here's my research study here and my research study there. Like, what are those in-betweens that you are talking about?
So these are places that already exist across your product, and you just need to kind of find those. Some of those things are customer service calls. So they're likely happening already. So, and usually if someone's calling in somewhere with a customer service area, then they're calling in with a problem that needs fixing. And then you can kind of dig into those, track those over time and hear about what are some of the trends and those sorts of things. We have account managers that call our customers. And we didn't do this for a long time and realized actually that's a really rich source. So they call them, they have onboarding conversations, they're building up those initial relationships. Well, actually, there's a lot to be learned from that initial excitement to get onto the product and use the product. And then we started to get those and get these, again, small little bits of information coming through. What really excites people? Where do people feel a little bit uneasy around the product? We have people out in the field going to visit our customers that are getting first-hand experience with our customers. So how do we enable them to bring back feedback that they're hearing? So just looking right across the board, across the life cycle of your product, where are you already touching the experience of the customer and putting things in place to capture all of that? So yeah, there's a few examples from our space. It will look different for everyone else, but that's how we've looked at it.
Yeah, I love that. So it's really utilizing those preset, like, okay, account managers will be talking to users, like people will be calling in with customer service or customer support and utilizing those. So I'm curious if somebody's interested in starting this journey, because I remember sitting down and being like, oh my goodness, customer support is going to be amazing. Look at all these tickets, and being like, oh, that's a lot of tickets. That's a lot to go through. Like, how do you get started with something like this?
I think first off is just, can you map out where those touch points are? And then do you have any solid existing relationships with the people, even with that direct contact with the customer or within that space, that you can kind of angle into that and leverage that relationship and say, hey, can I jump on a call with some customers? Can I sit with one of the reps side by side with them and for a morning and just listen to all the calls coming through, noting down anything? But equally, if people might be a bit kind of standoffish and being like, I'm not sure if I want you sat next to someone, if that is a challenge that you experience, then just getting someone who is close to it. Could you just have some time with them, coffee, lunch, that sort of thing? Go, okay, what sort of things have you been hearing over the last week or the last month? What are some of the things which are coming up? And then if you can show how you can take that bit of information, feed it in to helping to make decisions, make impact with product decisions, and then circle back and highlight, hey, we heard this from this team. Suddenly doors start to open with, okay, well, that was just off of a small chat. What if we did get you in hearing directly from customers? I think it's just leveraging existing relationships, trying to show value when you are able to get it in there. Those sorts of things really help with that sort of thing.
Yeah. I do remember, I do remember something just like that where my account management team was like, no, we don't want you sitting with our customers. And also the account management team like hated the product team because they didn't listen. The product team didn't listen to the account management team. So I was like, please just let me try and help.
And you can see where it comes from. People feel protective of that area. And they're like, well, you're doing that over there. Shouldn't you be doing X, Y, and Z thing? But the more you can kind of try to break those down and try to sell the story of it being a collaborative effort, then it's all smooths out and hopefully becomes easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just takes time, as you said, leveraging existing relationships, but also continuing to build that trust and rapport, as you said, takes tons of time. And I'm curious because you talked about having people kind of go in and sit down with the rep and listen in, but are you ever looking at like previous data, like things that have been stored already? I'm not sure if like people are storing and tagging their calls or anything like that.
Not directly through them doing it themselves, but we have set up because the notion of us, the only way we can get it is to go and sit next to them. That doesn't scale. That's not a long-term thing that you can do. But we do have an ability for any of the sales reps, for any piece of feedback which is coming in that they feel is useful, then they ping that into an internal system which we have, and then that gets emailed to us in the team every day. So we just get a collection of these coming through, and they go straight into our repository. We tag them, and then over time we're building up kind of evidence of this particular challenge or this pain point, this frustration, whatever it might be. And over time, it just builds. The repository is there, it's just growing. So when it comes to, okay, what information have we had? What pieces of feedback have we had over time? We are able to go and visit that space within the repository and see, oh, this much has come in from the sales teams, or this time, this amount of people, this amount of issues have come through from our people out in the road. So that's what we do kind of asynchronously, so to speak. And they're able to do it at any point and give us that feedback.
I love that. And like, that's like such a beautiful thing for like triangulation. It's like, oh yeah, like during this usability test, we only heard this from a few people, but actually this has been an issue that's been raised several times from other departments.
And it works the other way as well. So we might hear a kind of little bits coming through, and then that can be the beginning of us going to then trigger some usability testing or trigger some deep dives. If we hear over a week or two period that, oh, this is kind of popped up a couple of times, that can often trigger it the other way around as well. So it kind of creates that loop, really.
Yeah. And that's like really awesome because that's kind of also getting into more proactive research of like, you are looking for things and saying, oh, these are actually coming to us. Let's go out and like figure that out, because I think a lot of researchers can feel quite reactive. Like a product manager has come to me and asked me to do this, right? A designer has come to me and asked me to do this. But like, yeah, your eyes and ears are out there so that you can like get that information and then say, ooh, interesting. Maybe we should go and test this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have had instances of that happening where they have triggered that kind of deeper research, which then we've had instances where it does go on and be kind of a crucial thing. On others, it just kind of, oh no, it was actually just one or two people that called this out. But it does give us a nice starting point and something to add to the rest of the information that we've got coming through ultimately.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that these things, especially internally, get logged internally into a platform that then you get emailed about. I can maybe assume or imagine that might be like a lot of things coming in. And so I'm wondering for people who might be like, maybe that's overwhelming. Like, how often are you going in and taking this information and adding it into your repository? Like, how do you make sure it's like a continuous process that doesn't either get left behind or feel too overwhelming?
Yeah, so the way we've set it up is that it gets batched together and gets sent. So it gets sent 8 o'clock each morning. So when we arrive, it's in our inbox because it arrives in like a CSV format. That's a nice, easy input into the repository. But I can see if you don't have that capability to spin something up like that internally, then using something like Microsoft Forms or another survey tool to be able to do that, you could see how if there's quite a few bits coming through that could get overwhelming. I think it just comes down to treating it as this is part of the research practice, and we do have that coming in. And each challenge will look different for each person. But maybe it's a case of, okay, we do get all of this. But even if I started with a practice of I'll take 20 each day and then I'll push those into the repository. And then at least you can say from these 20, over the past week, we've now got 100 pieces. And then you can start building that question of, look how useful these pieces have been. Look at the decisions it's driven or the questions that it's forced us to look at. Then you start building the case for, but I don't have enough time to do that. Who else can support with this? Do we need to get some more research capability within the team? And then you start to have those types of conversations, which again helps build the showing the value for research and those sorts of things. So it's not a case of looking at it as that is overwhelming, I'm not going to do it. It's that's overwhelming, I'll do what I can feasibly do, show the value, build the case for being able to do more stuff like that.
I love literally anything that advocates for bringing more researchers on board. So that's like such a nice thing to be able to like, because we struggle with that quite a lot. I feel like we're like, okay, we're a team of one or we're a small team and we could always use more resources. Like, how do we make that case? And that's just such a perfect example of like, hey, these are all the things we have to do. And this is one of them. Like, this is the case for bringing on more people so that we can do even more, drive even more decisions, bring even more value.
And just on the case of building for more research, a very quick point. I have an ongoing log and just a very simple note, which is times where I feel like I need to have more research capability. And I just add a new bullet point every time I have that feeling of, I wish I had more people to be able to do this. And it might be that the ability to get more research is not, you can't have that conversation right now for whatever reason. Yeah. But when the time comes, suddenly you've got this long list of different reasons, and then you can use your researcher skills. Let's theme these types of things up. What have been the reasons? But yeah, that's just a little side note. I do have a note which I am collecting of those sorts of instances.
I love that. Oh, what a great hack. It's like it's just such a great idea. It feels so obvious. It's like, yeah, keep track of these things, but like you have to hear it from other people to like be like, oh, right, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Do you want to get all of your user research questions answered, all while hanging out on your couch in sweatpants? No need to join any live webinars and hope that your question gets answered. No need to Google a million different things and sift through some scattered advice that you don't really know is valid or reliable. Not anymore. I know it sounds too good to be true, but I promise it isn't, because if you become a paid Substack subscriber, you get access immediately to a community filled with user researchers that I am in every single day answering questions. Not only can you hang out on your couch, feel less alone as a user researcher, and get all of your questions answered, not only by an expert, but by a bunch of other user researchers with amazing perspectives and experience, you can do all of that on your couch in sweatpants, and I will be alongside there with you every step of the way. So join my paid Substack, get immediate access, and we can relax together solving all of your user research problems. See you there.
You also talked about how important it is, you know, especially if you don't have that buy-in, to sit with the customer rep or really like get involved in this process from your stakeholders of, you know, getting as much information as you can, feeding that in, and then bringing back the value that drove. So I'm curious, can we talk a little bit now about, you know, socializing research and how you can do that in an effective way of like creating that loop that you talked about?
Yeah, so the socializing ultimately is a case of just thinking about, it doesn't always have, like every study that you do doesn't have to be this perfect thing of, I do this whole robust piece of research, I'm speaking to people, whatever your method is, I'm synthesizing it down, I'm pushing it into a report. I think we need to kind of shift away and be more, not away. That's the wrong word. We shouldn't shift away from it. We should add more things to our toolbox in the way that we are doing it. It's not a one size fits all, and just thinking about different formats for different situations. It might be that sometimes a bigger thing than a report might be needed. There's a different way to kind of socialize what you've been found. Sometimes it's much, much smaller. And actually it's not, the goal shouldn't be, I'm going to build this report. It should be the outcome of what's the impact is driving and what are the decision that is helping to make. And whatever way you can make that happen, and that's the way that we should be going. And that will look different for different circumstances. So it's more of a mindset, or not everything has to be a report, and thinking wider about how we might be able to do this.
Yeah, I wrote down a quote that came to me a while ago that was like, your output is your insight, but your outcome is the decision that's made. And I find that that's so important. It's like, not everything needs to be such a beautifully constructed report. As long as it's like moving a decision forward, that's the point.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes I wonder, I'm kind of theorizing here. I haven't actually seen this in practice, but I just wonder that you could have the same insights, but delivered in different ways. Yeah. I reckon one might generate like a decision and support and make some impact in that way. And the other would just sit there, potentially unread, potentially unwatched, or whatever it is. And like with all things, communication is key. And the end put, like how we socialize these, is our form of communication. And if you're doing the wrong type of communication at the wrong time or in the wrong space, then it's just not going to land, or it's going to feel strange. And you can't have the same type of communication in every situation. So yeah, it's kind of working out which one best drives that outcome that you're looking for ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I actually did like A/B testing with my reports and like A/B testing with my communication and socializing before. And like, you're absolutely right. Like, the same insights delivered in different ways, just engage differently. So yeah, I truly, truly believe that it's also up to you as a researcher to kind of start understanding those communication types, that timing and those ways. And I'm curious, like for you, have you felt like there is anything in particular when it comes to communication that's been helpful for you, for people who are maybe struggling with socializing research?
I think it's just trying different ways and not being afraid of trying something different.
Yeah.
If everyone's just expecting you to deliver the same thing, then if they think that you're delivering the same thing and it's really great, they'll probably continue to think it's really great. If it's like, okay, well, you keep pushing this out and it's great to have, but we are making decisions in a different way, then kind of you try to mix things up, and don't be afraid of trialing stuff. Whether that's, can you bring short video clips in and just punt it through Messenger rather than putting them deep within a research report? Can you do that to say, hey, I've spoken to a couple of customers yesterday. Here's 2 little snippets based off of the theme that we're currently working on at the moment, or we're working towards this bit of work. Could that be an interesting thing to do? Can you show your process? Can you show the early prototypes that you might have been showing with people, with some of the concepts? Can you go out and share, here's the questions that we're asking our customers, and maybe ask for a bit of their input? And I think just share it, thinking of and just trialing different ways of socializing either the process or the output from that, or even circling all the way back and saying, we did this piece of research and here's the decisions we made off of the back of it. It's all about just understand the impact that you're making through that work ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really important to try those different methods. I remember I did like the usability bingo. Like I was trying so hard to get people to care about usability tests, and everybody was like, well, like, we kind of know what the problem is. And I was like, then why did we run the test? And then like, finally I was like, okay, we're going to play bingo and I'm going to get drinks. Like, there was beer, there was wine, there was pizza, there was bingo, and everybody suddenly turned into a child and was like, this is the best thing ever. Or a very old person, I don't know. So that's when usability bingo, I was like, this is how I need to socialize, because people received it as like, yay, fun, different, new. And so I'm getting like where my reports weren't delivering. And so I'm curious, like for you, do you have any like favorite ways of people who are maybe like, I've delivered these reports over and over again, and like I'm really struggling with knowing how to even change it up or knowing how to even try anything new?
Yeah. So one, I go small. but then I go big. So I'll give you a range of things. So if within the report, what are those, if you were to kind of make each one just like a social media post and each little insight, what would they look like? And could you push those out? And just to see how those land, just do people kind of engage with those? And could you kind of maybe do a series over across a week? What does some of those things look like? What impact does that have? It might be that people start to engage more, or from those, of course, you would say, here's the insight, here's the link to the full report, just to measure whether you get more eyes on that report overall, or is there more uptake in it? And you might want to pair that. It could be that you pair it with a traditional playback, but then you look for opportunities to play these clips through. So that's kind of like a small, I think, getting any sort of voice of the customer, face of the customer in, that seems to resonate a lot with people. And it's quite easy to do, isn't it? It's quite low effort to kind of get that video clip and a bit of commentary around it, why you think it's important. That's something that you could package up and put through Messenger quite easily. So that's a small one to maybe go and try if you haven't tried that before. And then a larger one is the kind of analogy that comes to mind is, I don't know if you've watched Iron Man, Nikki, but he seems to have this kind of 3D space all around him. And if you took your research report in the middle of the room and just exploded it out onto the walls, and what would that look like to kind of create this kind of a gallery feel in a large room, bring everyone in, give them 15, 20 minutes at the beginning and say, hey, just go around the room, take in what you can, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to walk through. But I'd love to get your questions, put them on stickies. I've left sticky notes and pens around. What are you taking from these bits? And then you can start to feed in, maybe if you've got a projector in the room or even just on a laptop, just bringing in that voice and face of the customer. These are much bigger things that me and my team have done on numerous occasions, getting lots of people in a room, getting stuff on walls and taking it all in, and they're kind of guided by themselves of what they find interesting, and then having it as a group experience. So there's a very one-on-one experience with the videos through Messenger, a much larger group experience, but both ways I have found and we use, and I feel they're quite impactful beyond just the report.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I remember I did a kind of gallery viewing for a customer journey map, and it was so interesting. And again, it's people are gonna think that I'm really pushing alcohol, but it was we had wine and snacks and cheese and stuff like that, and people walked through and wrote down their thoughts on sticky notes, and I had laptops and set up for press here for a more interactive view, so I love that. I think that that's a fantastic big way, but I also love that very small micro make this into a social media post, make this insight into something engaging in social media. I remember once I took the audio out of my usability testing clips and I forced my stakeholders to comment on it as if they were the user. And I was what do you think this user is going through as you're watching this, as a kind of a voiceover? And it was actually hilarious. And everybody just assumed that the participants were annoyed based on what they were doing. And I was that's really interesting. But yeah, I think one thing that I love is and what you were kind of talking about it is there's ways to be creative about these things. There's ways to think about new things, try new things. It's okay if they fail, and it's okay to experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in order to push forward the practice, I think it takes experimentation. There's so much available. There's so many people sharing what they do. It seems over the last, 3 to 5 years, people have been so much more, well, I've seen anyway, it's probably longer than that they've been so much more willing to share, here's some of the practices that I do, and this is a few things that we've tried. And there's so much out there that we really should be trialing different things and just understanding what works. And it's coming back to that communication side of things. If the research that you had and the way that your working practices are, if that was a person talking to the people that you need to speak to, would you want to only speak in one way ever? Or is there different ways that you want to be able to speak and communicate to them? And thinking of it a little bit like that. And what are the different ways? What are the things in your toolbox that you have to be able to express the things that you're seeing from the people that use your product? Again, coming back to that principle of to support making an impact, supporting decisions, defining value for the work that you do.
I love that. Yeah. Amazing. Well, we're actually towards the end of our time, which is just wild because I wanted to talk to you about like 1,000 more things. But if you had to pick like one actionable thing based on what we talked about that you would recommend that the audience does, aside from tracking, because that was already like tracking, like when you need more research capabilities, because that was already an amazing nugget. Aside from that one, for somebody who wants to get started on like either the broadening of research or like the socializing better of research, what would you recommend?
Can I give one for each? Is that okay?
Yeah. Why not? We'll do two.
So I think for the broadening of the research, something you can do today or as you're listening to this is just jot down like who in the company do you think has that direct customer contact, and then reach out to one of those people. And then just say, hey, I want to hear more about what you've been hearing from your customers. Or even better still, can I join you on a call or a visit or those types of things? They're things that you can implement in the next couple of days. And then in terms of socializing the research, I think challenge yourself at your next stand-up or your next team meeting, just to throw in an insight from a latest bit of research which you've had, bonus points if that's a customer video or a voice or those sorts of things. They seem to resonate a lot better. So they would be mine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, this is so awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. I had, such a great time talking to you. And honestly, time flies. There was so much amazing stuff just within these few minutes, it feels like. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Cool. Thank you very much. It's been great to chat.
Yeah, amazing. And thank you so much to everybody who was listening today. I really, really appreciate it. Follow, subscribe, etc. And I will see you all later.